Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is a joint meeting of the Community Review Board on Police Practices Rules Committee, as well as the Ad Hoc Transition Committee meeting. Oops, hold on 1 second. I think it may be Nancy calling.
Charmaine, are we officially the commission?
Not yet.
Okay. So do we know when the chaptering will occur?
I think I'm hearing the end of the month.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Patrick, what I heard the other day was that the Secretary of State is running 2 to 3 weeks behind in opening their mail. So I think our rough estimate was kind of mid to late this month is what we were hearing. So it seems like it's kind of still on par for what we anticipated.
Thank you.
Okay, and that was Nancy. Nancy thought the meeting was at 10:30, so she'll be joining us momentarily.
So I have a question kind of out of ignorance. Does that mean that because it's not chaptered yet, that you cannot have any official meetings or review or anything? You can't do any work?
No, we're still the CRB, so we continue as the CRB until it's chaptered, and so that's when the transition.
So you'll still have an open session meeting this month, whether or not it's as a CRB.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if the chaptering occurs before then, we'll have an open meeting as the commission. And so instead of the roll call, let me just read off from the participants list who's present. So we have myself, Doug Case Chair. Nancy has just joined us. I just clicked on admit for her. We have our Executive Director, Charmaine Mosley, our CRB Chair, Brandon Hilpert, our liaison with the San Diegans for Justice, Kate Yavendetti, Diana Dent, who is a member of both committees, right? And Marty Workman, who is a member of the Rules Committee, Nancy Vaughn, who's a member of both committees, and Patrick Anderson, who chairs the Community Outreach Committee and is a member of the Transition Committee. Okay, and absent is Joe Craver and Kevin Harrington.
Noted. Thank you.
Okay. The minutes of the Rules Committee meeting of December 22nd were sent out. Were there any changes to that? Charmaine, is it okay to adopt minutes by consent, or do we need to do a roll call for that?
I think we still have to do the roll call.
Okay, you want to? Since I have it on my screen, I'll just call the names if you want me to. And this will be just the members of the Rules Committee. So, Brandon.
Do we have a motion?
Oh yeah, the motion is to approve the minutes of December 22nd.
You have a second?
Second.
Okay. Doug Case?
I think he's froze again.
He's frozen?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
I'll
gosh.
go back to him.
Oh, you're back. You're back, Doug.
Right.
I think I just heard him.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting a message on my screen saying my internet is unstable, so that's concerning. But
Doug?
yes.
You've seen it? Yes. Okay. Brandon Hilpert?
Yes.
Nancy Vaughn?
Yes.
Diana Dent?
Yes.
Patrick Anderson?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. I'm going to turn off my video. I don't know if that makes any difference in terms of the internet, but it might. Okay, did we receive any public comment?
No public comment received.
Okay, then we will go on to our unfinished business. The first one is the review of the interim standard operating procedures. We sent that to our outside attorney, Christina Cameron, as well as the deputy city attorney who is working on the commission issues, who is Joan Dawson. And they looked over it, and Charmaine and I and Brandon had a call with her yesterday. And actually some only very minor changes were made to our document. Overall, they agreed with our approach. You were sent the change to the document, but the only I guess substantive change, looking over it again this morning, that was made was the section that's indicated that we could refer a matter to the mayor. We added mayor and police chief. I think even changed the order from police as to a police chief and mayor. The city will send that document to the POA as an informational item. They agree with us that it doesn't appear there's anything in the document that would require a media confer, and that was the entire intent of drafting the document, was so that we could proceed without a media confer. But they still need to send a copy of it to them, which they will be doing, and we will be. We need to get it approved by the commission. I guess it could, at this point in time, it could be either the CRB or the commission making a recommendation to the city council. But we need to have the full board or full commission do it, because the transition committee nor the rules committee have the power to speak on behalf of the full body. And so we have a little bit of time there. Well, the other issue that we asked was whether we can continue doing the business of reviewing IA reports in the interim, both as the board and the commission when the commission comes into existence. Our sense in reading the document, the charter amendment, is that it indicates that the city council has the ability to write rules and regulations for the commission on their operations, but doesn't mandate that. And since we come into existence as soon as it's chaptered, that we can continue that we could continue with our business even without having the standard operating procedures approved by, adopted by the city council. And let me ask this question. I don't know if we'll need, did everybody have a chance to look at the document and noticing that the only significant change was the one that I mentioned? I can put it up, but if everybody is familiar with it, so maybe we can approve it without having.
Doug, this is Marty. There's one thing that I think should be altered a little bit.
I also have something. I'll go
Me
after
too.
Marty.
Then why don't you put the document up? Do you want the red line document up or the regular or the unredlined version up?
It makes no difference to me. Just
Patrick, do you have a preference?
I don't have a preference.
Okay, then why don't you put the clean version up, Charmaine, or I can do it if you want me to.
Go ahead and do it, since my laptop is operating kind of slow.
Okay, well,
Why don't I put it up, because Doug's having problems again?
Do you want to? Okay, let me make you co-host.
You don't need to. I can already do it. I'm just going to put the draft interim bylaws. I don't think it's the red line, but it's the one I have open.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the standard operating procedures.
my laptop. My
Right.
I apologize. Let me go to the standard operating procedures. Hold on.
Yeah, And I just froze again, so it's good that you're doing it.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Go here. Final proposed. There we go. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yep.
I'll
Yes.
just make it a bit bigger. Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go to Marty first, and then I'll go to Patrick. Who's your
Marty, what page do you need to go to?
Well, it's at 2 under commission case review, the agree with comment.
I'm sorry. Do you have a page number?
Yes, okay, page 2.
Page 2.
Keep scrolling down. A little bit further.
There we go.
Yeah, there you
Okay,
go.
agree with comment. The way I would word it is, if you see in the parentheses, I would say comments may include, comma, but are not limited to, comma, the appropriateness.
okay? Is there any objection to that?
Not from me.
Okay. That's good. And did you have another one too, Marty, or is that it?
No, that's it for this one.
Okay. Okay.
You have to add the word to, right? Not limited to.
Correct. And a
Uh-huh.
comma after the 2 may include.
May
Right.
include comma, but not limited to. Yeah, and I'm surprised nobody caught that because I looked at it and Joan looked at it and Christina looked at it. But sometimes you're looking at red lines, it's easy to miss things. Okay. And then Patrick, did you have a,
My comment is about bylaws, so go ahead and skip me.
okay.
I have a couple minor comments on the procedures, if I might.
Okay.
It's inconsistent throughout whether it refers to commission or the commission. And I know at the very beginning, it crossed out CPP and says commission, but I really think it needs to be referred to as the commission. And I haven't marked all the places, but there's some places where it says the commission, like in the second sentence, and other places where it just says commission, which just doesn't sound right to me. So like, for example, number 1 in complaint process where it says complaints are submitted either through commission. So I just think that needs to be consistent, and my preference would be to say it's the commission all the way through. But it's up to you folks.
Good
And then I
catch.
had one other minor comment. Is there any comment on that?
I think it's a good catch.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Doug
With the
keeps
line.
jumping out.
And
I
then
actually, I have a comment, Kate.
Yeah.
It shows on here, it says SDPD role, that paragraph says during commission review, including any team request for additional allegations. And if you put in to me, it sounds funny.
And it shouldn't be there, but it should be in the very first part of the sentence where it says between SDPD and the commission.
Yes, I agree
That's
with
what
that.
So I think we just have to, be
Review it,
sensitive
yeah.
to where it should be added and where it shouldn't.
If
Yeah,
you
you're
put
right,
in
Nancy.
B down in the second place during the commission, you'd have to do apostrophe.
Yeah, that should be apostrophe S.
You could do it that way too, if you wanted to say everywhere the commission, which I think sounds fine. It's just you have to read, you can't just do a global replace.
Yeah, and the other thing on the word commission, I think it's page 4 under paragraph number 3, shooting review and in custody deaths, and the third paragraph down, I think, where it says the last sentence, complaints within the commission jurisdiction, I think it should say commissions, apostrophe S. I don't know if people agree with that, but that's, and then the paragraph right above that, officer involved shooting. It says by an incident in which as, and I think it should say a, I think that's just a typo. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I've got. You'd think I was an English teacher, but I'm not. I'm just kind of
That's
into
good.
Grammar.
And
Can we also number the pages if it's not numbered?
Yeah.
that's good. And Charmaine, did you catch all that? Because I went off again.
Yes.
Okay. And so I'm guessing they were all technical changes, like,
Yes.
okay. And if Charmaine got all that, then Charmaine, if you can make those changes and also add the page number.
Yes.
And then I'll entertain a motion to accept it with those changes.
So move.
Okay. And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. And we may have already made that motion, but we'll do it again. And you want to call the roll, Charmaine? And I guess it would be everybody, because we'll have both committees act on this one.
Yes. Who seconded the motion?
That was me, Brandon.
Okay. Doug Case,
Yes.
Nancy Vaughn,
Yes.
Patrick Anderson,
Yes.
Joe Craver is absent, Marty Workman,
Yes,
Diana Dent,
yes,
Kevin Harrington is absent, Brandon Hilbert.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. And then we will move on to the bylaws. And then Kevin, actually probably for the bylaws, it makes more sense to have the red line up. I'm not Kevin, Patrick.
Excuse me. Okay.
No, it doesn't. No red line.
No, because we need, as we're explaining it to the board, they need to see what the red line is, and people can look at the
It makes me cross-eyed.
well, then if you want to, Nancy, you can look at the other one. No, seriously, if it's easier for you, you can pull up on your screen the clean version.
So Doug, I do have a comment about this one whenever you want to.
Okay.
By the way, have we lost the raise hand function? Does that no longer exist?
Let me look and see if
I know.
I have it.
I know there was at least for me, I did a app update and it changed a lot of things. So I think it's now in chat, I think is where I see it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. I think what I'll do is do an overview, and then we'll go back and talk about this. If you could maybe make it bigger and get rid of the sidebar. Okay. And okay. There we go. So I'll kind of explain what we did, and then we can go through it section by section. So the first thing was that we added a preamble, and the purpose of that was twofold, at least twofold. One was we wanted to make it abundantly clear that this is intended to be interim bylaws, and so we indicated that the new commission, the permanent commission, once they are seated, will have 90 days to adopt new bylaws. And then furthermore, we wanted to, as you'll see in a moment, we thought that it was important to include in the bylaws all of the powers and duties of the new commission, even if we may not have the ability to immediately implement them all. And so just like we did with the standard operating procedures, we made reference to that. And so that's why you see some of the commission duties and powers is listed. And these bylaws will require the adoption of rules and procedures before implementation. And then if you can scroll down a little bit, the name and authority is pretty standard. We took out scroll. The previous one had the entire language of the charter. Keep on scrolling down, please. You can scroll all the way through that page, probably. We decided to, given that the length of the charter amendment this time, it simply made more sense to reference it by name rather than include the entire text. So quite a bit of changes were made to Article 2. We basically added a mission statement which Nancy drafted, which you'll see there. And then we can scroll on down. Then we divided the, it would have been nice if actually the charter amendment had done this explicitly, but anyway, we went through the charter amendment and identified those things that are mandatory duties. And you'll see there are 5 things that the charter amendment says that the commission must do. And so those are listed there. And then we listed the discretionary powers. So you want to scroll down some more. So you see there's 6 items in the charter amendment that where it says may instead of must. And then scroll on down to objectives. We had something in the actually just continue to scroll down. Okay. And then there were 2 things in our previous document that seemed to fall under the category of objectives. One of them was the community outreach and education, so we kept that. And the same thing with independence. Okay. Then with regard to a membership, we took out much of that because the membership is simply going to be those people who are members of the CRB at the time that at the stroke of midnight or whenever it turns into a pumpkin and becomes the commission. Yeah, continue scrolling down. So basically we, the references to appointment, there won't be any more appointments until we have a process for appointing the permanent commissioners. Okay, so for the interim bylaws, there's not going to be any more interim commissioners that are appointed. Scroll on down. We kept the duties and responsibilities pretty much the same. So continue to scroll down. And I can go down more. And removal for cause. The only difference there is that, continue to scroll down, on the removal for cause, we took the mayor's office out of it because they would no longer be involved in that process. And we also took out non-reappointment because that, we're talking about the interim bylaws and the interim commissioners. Okay. And then scrolling down for the officers, it made sense to us that the current officers should remain in office until we have a permanent commission and they can elect their own officers. Normally we have elections in June. The goal is to have the new commission seated sometime this fall, so it doesn't make sense to elect new officers in June. So we took out the election, but we kept a section of continue on down on vacant. We took out succession and replaced it by vacancies. So scroll on down. So in case some of the current officers positions become vacant, that we have a process for filling that. In the unlikely event that all 3 officer positions would become vacant under the current process or the previous process, the mayor appointed an acting chair, and we changed that so the executive committee appointed an active chair to handle the elections of new officers. Then down, and the powers and duties. Go ahead and continue.
Wait, Doug, I'm sorry. Can I know we're going to go back, but what executive committee? If the 3 officers are vacant, then there is no executive committee.
Yes, there is.
The executive committee consists of the committee chairs as well as the.
And the officers.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
And Doug, can I interject? Doug and I had a slight disagreement in this section. I felt like we should still have some process for electing new officers. He thinks the new commission will be fully operational by this fall, and I think that's optimistic and that we're leaving ourselves kind of open. But for whatever you guys want to think is the right way to do it.
We can discuss that through the section by,
Right, I just didn't want to forget to say that.
well, and there's a difference between being fully operational and appointed. I don't think we may be fully operational by the,
Well, I just meant in
but,
place
you know,
as opposed to
yeah,
the
yeah.
interim.
Okay, we can talk about that when we get to it. So go on down further. Keep on going. We didn't really make any changes to, we changed the cabinet around a little bit because the role of the executive director changes. And we kind of changed it so that that the cabinet takes certain actions in consultation with the executive director instead of the other way around, since the executive director will now be reporting to the rather than reporting to previously the mayor's office, and so the it doesn't make sense for the executive director to be supervised by everybody on the board. So it makes sense that the supervision and consultation, and really it's probably more consultation, would occur with the cabinet. So the day interaction with the executive director would still continue to be done by the cabinet, but just rearrange, I guess, the roles there. Meetings stayed pretty much the same, except there was reference in here which to academy members gonna have anymore, so we took that out. Meeting stays the same. Oh yeah, I added.
Can you go back? Okay. To the blue underline.
Yeah.
I'm just reading that.
Yeah, and we can talk about that. I thought it might be helpful to add that because there are questions in the community as to, and I'm getting my internet is not stable, and so hopefully.
Can we add an only in there in the blue section?
Yeah, but let me do that when you come back. When we get to that, but anyway, I wanted to make a there that members of deliberating body that they're there to provide information and resources to the commission. I think it's more clear in procedures, but I want to understand that.
So
okay,
we're going to come back to some of these individual changes, right? We're just doing an overview and coming back.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm doing an overview, and then we can go back section by section.
I have an issue with this paragraph. Okay.
Okay, and then continue on down. That's all pretty much the same. Continue on down more. And just continue scrolling, actually. Committees were stayed pretty much the same. Continue on down. I think we passed it, but I did put in there the ability of the chair to appoint community members as non-voting members, so that if we have people like Kate we want to invite, we can do. And then significant changes were made to the administration section, which is the last section, because the executive director is no longer part of the mayor's office. It's part, serves at the will and direction of the commission. And so I added some of the specific duty included in the, I felt a little bit, managed of staff and the selection of the staff. And then where did I, somewhere, go back up a little bit, maybe. Yeah, and some of this, by the way, I took out of the Ethics Commission equivalent to their bylaws. And in theirs, they talked about an annual performance evaluation, which isn't specifically called for in the charter, but I thought that might be good to include in the interim bylaws. And then go ahead and go on down. And the final section was our independent counsel, which was changed to go to the very end. Oh, I'm sorry, that's right, okay. And so we have, oh, I'm sorry, go back up. I wanted to, so the interim counsel, right there, stop. So the commission will retain its own legal counsel, and some that's taken directly from the charter, but also wanted to make it clear, as we've talked about in some of our previous discussions, that it could either be a commission employee or an independent contractor hired by the executive director, because the executive director does all the hiring. But we thought that that position in particular, there should be required consultation with the cabinet in the selection of the legal counsel. And the rest of it was simply changes. And so now let's go back to the very beginning, and we'll go through section by section and allow people to.
Doug, I wonder if it might not be more a better use of our time if we just, I think we've all looked at this, and maybe if we just in order go through people's particular points of wanting question or changes, because I don't know, I wonder if that might not get us to the bigger issues first. Does that make sense to other folks? Or do other folks think moving through line A to line Z is better?
I think section by section, and so I mean, or article by article makes
okay,
makes sense. So the preamble, any concerns, thoughts regarding the preamble? Okay. Hearing none, name and authority.
I just had a question, because you've added the City of San Diego Commission, and I'm not sure that's, I mean, I don't have a big problem with it. I'm just not sure that's the official name in the charter amendment.
It is. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, yeah,
It
well,
is?
the
I
name
mean,
of
I
the,
just
I'm
read
saying the City of San Diego. Well, I think just like we refer to it as the City of San Diego Community Review Board, so it's clear to, I guess normally when we're talking to outside people, that it's the city and not the county. And so I think it's an implied part of the name. I don't feel strongly that we can take it out.
I don't either. It was just a question. I didn't know if it was a legal issue.
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
almost think, I think to Kate's point, I would almost think maybe we take that out, because this is a city document. So I think it's implied it's San Diego. But I don't feel strongly, but I mean, I think Kate's point is, if people think that's going to become the official title,
Okay.
City of San Diego's Commission on Police Practices, possibly.
I think
Okay.
you should leave it.
Is it still under the, well,
I think you should leave it.
Go up to the very top of very top. Oh, that very top would be even here. It does say City of San Diego there. So I think since we have this, we put it this at the top, City of San Diego. I don't have a problem with taking it out. And then actually, before we continue, Charmaine, are you making note of these changes, or?
I can always go back. It's being recorded.
Okay.
Meeting is being recorded.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I don't know whether you were making them as we go along. So unless there is an objection, let's take out the City of San Diego. And the City of San Diego was in the former, as you can see, it was not lying through, so that was in the former document, but that's fine. We can take it out.
But just, I just looked at the charter amendment, and pretty much everywhere it does refer to it specifically as Commission on Police Practices. So,
Right. Yeah. And again, that's because it's in the city charter.
Right.
So, and again, since we have it at the very top, we identify this as the City of San Diego. We don't need to, I'm fine with taking it out. Okay, was there any other issue in the name and authority?
I'll just say that in the document we just approved, it never says the City of San Diego Commission on Police Practices. So for the sake of uniformity, I don't think it should say that here.
Okay, then I'm fine with taking it out, and it was only in there because it was in the in the current bylaws, but I'm fine with taking it out.
I have one
Do we
additional
have-
minor question in this section. I know you guys are really glad to hear from me. I'm not sure that San Diego still has a municipal code. I didn't check on that.
They do.
Oh, yeah.
We do?
Uh-huh.
Because a lot of that stuff was the municipal, they don't have a municipal court anymore, so.
Yeah, there's a definitely, all
Okay,
the,
that can stay then. I mean, if
Yeah.
we still have a code, that's fine.
Yeah.
That was just a question.
yeah, and so like the implementation ordinance will be actually part of the municipal code.
Do we have this as a Word document? Can we put that up on the screen?
We do.
I don't have a copy of that, so I can't put it up on the screen. While we're
well-
talking about this, is this meant to be in order of priority? Listed in hierarchical order, yes.
Yes.
So why do our own bylaws appear below the MOU?
Because the MOU is in other words, we have to comply with the MOU. And so the bylaws are, the things that are at the bottom are things that the board itself has sole jurisdiction over. The things
But-
above it.
I guess I don't understand why the bylaws would be below. Standard operating procedures for the commission are here. Why
Mhm.
shouldn't the overarching bylaws be up here too? I mean, the bylaws are actually harder to change than procedures, so they should actually be above the procedures.
Because the bylaws are an internal document. Everything above it is an external document.
Okay. All right. That answers it. Thank you.
Okay. And then then we can scroll down. I'm sure there'll be some issues on the next one.
So are we removing City of San Diego?
Yeah, we're moving the City of San Diego in the very first part of it. Okay. And then the purpose statement is new. Because the former purpose statement made reference to the limited duties of the CRB, and this talks about the expanded duties of the CRB. Does anybody have any?
I do.
Okay.
Okay.
I do too. Go ahead, Kate.
I can let Patrick go first. You're a voting member.
Well, I'm grateful to you and Nancy for drafting this. I think this phrase doesn't quite land with me in terms of what Measure B actually imagined. So availing the non-police community of a forum in which to voice concerns and criticisms. And even though it goes on then to say incorporating dual forms of oversight, I think this language should be revised. I don't know.
Comes from Nicole, that's all.
That's good. That's useful to know. But I think that when the community sees this language, they're not going to recognize it as what Measure B was intending to do.
Can we just remove non-police community? Just leave it as community?
Well, I think that's a good idea, but it doesn't quite get to, there's something about, it seems to me that the community views the commission not as a forum to voice concerns, but as an independent oversight body. And
Yes,
that's the center. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah,
But it's
let me ask this before we get further down this in terms of time. Are people okay with voicing the concerns and discussions and not taking a final vote on this document today and doing it at our next meeting so that we can?
I am.
Yes.
Okay. And then Patrick, would you be willing to work on doing some wordsmithing of that, of
Well,
the mission statement?
to be
Yeah.
honest with you, with the roundtable coming up on Monday, I just don't know when I'm going to have time to do that. But
Patrick, I wrote this to be outside of the specifics. In other words, this is the overarching sense of what the commission is all about.
This is the purpose?
Yes.
Right. And Kate, what was your concern?
Well, I had the same concern with the first sentence, and then when I got to the second sentence about the, when it talked about a monitor auditor form of oversight to focus on ensuring the policies and talk about oversight on improving officer conduct. It's a lot more than that. I mean, I just sort of wrote, in order to provide accountability and I mean, there's.
So
I agree with Patrick that we need a lot more in here about what the purpose is. It right now, it just sounds frankly a little weak.
excuse me, Kate, would you be willing to take a stab at writing?
Yeah,
Writing-
yeah. I mean, I don't know how soon you need it because I have the same issue with Patrick
Okay.
about the forum on Monday and
we don't need it until next week's meeting, and so.
Kate,
I don't know.
I'm willing to work on it with you and Nancy and Doug over email over the
Okay.
next week. If
Okay.
that's
And to be honest, it didn't quite capture it for me, but it was something that.
Okay, I can't do anything more today because of what I have today, but I could try to work on something maybe Monday or Tuesday, and maybe we could share emails and I could get something out to folks.
And
Okay.
I just want to say that, Nancy, from a NACOL perspective, I think this description makes a ton of sense. My concern is that from the specific San Diego Measure B community, it's going to sound, honestly, it's going to sound like a replication of CRB until you get to the very last sentence. And so I think this is really useful to start from here. And I think we'll be able to use this to develop an even stronger statement.
Mhm.
I didn't want it to satisfy all the community. I wanted it to say what it was there for, which is a more generic form of what you guys are talking about. So whatever you all come up with is fine with me. It's not my commission at this point.
Okay, and Patrick, in terms of your time, do you have to leave at a certain time?
I can push it. I can be late. I can push it to about 11:15. I'm fine.
What is
'Cause if we
before
don't-
this? What is before this paragraph that we're talking about? Okay. See it.
Take out the old. Okay, and the next section is the duties. Well, the next two sections are the duties and the discretionary powers.
I've got a change on that.
Okay,
And number one, it's independently investigate deaths all occurring. I believe it should be all deaths or any
Right.
deaths occurring.
yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's transposed.
And at
Yeah.
the very, excuse me, at the very end of that, it says, and all SDPD officer-related shootings. Well, this is addressed later on in the document where it refers to the shootings at people. Because we discussed that years
Yeah,
ago
we-
at our meeting, because we don't discuss shootings at pets.
Yeah, and the language here, this is taken directly from the charter. And so let's hold the discussion of the language of the shootings until we get to that part of the document. But this, I think here it's important to include the language of the charter.
Right.
Okay. So any other concerns regarding that?
This word should be that, not which. And
Okay.
so should this one. And so
Except-
should this one.
Oh, that was my thought, but the charter, Patrick, says which, because I
We should
actually,
actually have a Word document up here.
Okay, so I'm not gonna push this. It's just a grammar thing. And I think actually that this usage is changing. So let's ignore that. Please move on.
Okay. And you'll see that, and I actually put that there, and then I realized that's not what the was there. So, and I might say that this was actually helpful to me to see things divided up like this, because I haven't really seen it done as neatly as that as the other documents and discussions. And so let's move down to the objectives. Okay, Sir Main's asking me to. Yes, Sir Main, I will.
Thank you.
Nancy, do you want to chair the meeting for a second or chair the discussion of this? Will I send the document to, you need it right now, right, Charmaine?
No, it's fine because we're just going through. I'll just look at the, listen to the meeting minutes.
Okay, then I'll send it to you immediately afterwards.
Thank you.
Is someone taking minutes? Is someone taking notes?
It's fine. I'll do the minutes because I'm recording this meeting.
Okay.
Okay, the outreach and education was basically the same. And kept the independence. And Nancy thought maybe we should take out the independence, since the structure will be really important that we, it doesn't object independence.
I think that should be section 5.
You're correct. Thank you.
And I'm just wondering, and this is just me, if we should try to find another sort of more accessible word than modus operandi.
Yeah.
Adheres to a fundamental something. I frankly didn't come up with another word, but I don't think that's accessible to most people.
Okay, if you want to think of a word, and we can add it
Yeah,
next
I'll
week.
try to. I just read this morning, so.
Why don't we just take out this phrase? The Commission on Police Practices maintains and defends an independent posture.
I like
that.
We don't need adheres to fundamental anything.
Yeah, I agree. I think that sounds better. Sounds like an edit that a professor would do to a paper.
Guilty. But not of moral turpitude, which I hope we get to soon.
Okay, so let's go move to the membership section. Any concerns there?
No.
Taking out most of it because there's not going to be any more appointments until we have new bylaws. Actually, there'll be appointments, but they won't be appointments in this process.
I don't know which part of this you want me to be moving to, but I have a problem with section 3.
Yeah, the removal.
Or I have a concern, I should say, not a problem.
Oh. Well, before we move on, can I say something about section 2, number 5, community outreach? You see that line there under participate? That needs to be fixed. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, that probably holding down the space bar. Okay. And then, oops.
So is this a time for me to speak, or are we still up
Sure.
here? Okay. I know that this is in the existing language, but there's a lot of community concern about this kind of language. I know that one of the justifications for the felony exclusion is that we would have access to IA's own files. You know, I don't think that we should be resolving this concern that the public has with this exclusion. I'm not asking us to do that. I will point out that in addition to the concern about someone being convicted of a felony being excluded from this work, moral turpitude historically is an extremely vague category that has been used to persecute a lot of different folks, including LGBT people historically. I would support removing this language from this draft for the simple reason that removing that language doesn't resolve the issue. It just acknowledges a community desire to resolve this issue further down the road. I may be alone in this, and if so, then I will go on the record as saying I recommend that, but I will back down. I'm not going to get into a heated argument with anyone about that here.
Is
Yeah,
that
the reason-
something that
reason
might
for-
be in the municipal code?
Yeah, and I think this came from
Came from,
from the process for replacing members of boards and and of course, we're going to be a little bit different. And you're right, that's an issue that I think is definitely come up. I'm wondering whether or not
The problem, Doug, that I have is that if this language is in this document, even if the intention of the new commission is to change or alter this language, if a commissioner is appointed who falls into this category in any way, then the commission would be in a very strange position because its interim bylaws would require that person be removed. And I understand that this language may have been in the Office of Boards and Commissions, but the CPP is no longer attached to that board. So
it's still a city commission. So thinking about HR, that has to be something that has to be probably discussed with HR. I know we have the California Fair Act, which doesn't allow for the background checks due to, looking into somebody's background for felonies. But that's language that was put in there. It could be from HR, it could be from the municipal code, and the commission is still under the city.
So I would recommend we prioritize getting an answer from HR on this. And I would also suggest not only HR, but also the Ethics Commission to see if they, since they're also an independent commission, to see if they continue to have this language. And that's, again, I don't intend to get into an argument with folks. I just think because it's an issue that is currently unresolved, I would suggest we remove it.
Okay. Well, why don't we do why don't we do some research and flag this entire paragraph, and we can talk about it next week after we have some research done on this.
There's really two questions because the language, in my view, is vague. It doesn't indicate whether this conviction happens while the person is a member or if it's of a prior. So if somebody is a member and then you find out that, they have some misdemeanor offense for marijuana or something, and whether this has to be mandatory or whether it's just something that can be in the, something to be considered as a removal for cause. So I think there's a lot of questions. It's a big issue that, as Patrick knows, has been discussed by the community about qualifications of if people have a some kind of past record, whether it's a felony or misdemeanor or citation or whatever. So, and moral turpitude is not really even a crime. So, we have that in the law biz, right? We can be disciplined for an act of moral turpitude that isn't necessarily raised to a conviction of any kind. So I think this is really badly written.
Well, and the permanent bylaws, I don't think this would be there at all. But I think it's do some research to see whether or not we can remove it from our interim bylaws. Because
I think if I can jump in, I think to Doug's point, I think we need to do a little bit of research to make sure that we're not violating any city HR related issues. But I do agree with Patrick that I think felony, okay, fine. I kind of understand why they have that there. I think crime alone is way too vague. I mean, so I got a speeding ticket, I'm getting kicked off the board. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, the commission, I think that's what we need to try to make it a little more solid. And I think the idea
Well,
behind it
and I think
was-
there's a typo there in the current bylaws. It should say crime of moral, not,
Right.
it's not crime or
Oh,
moral,
got
it
it,
should be
yeah.
crime of moral
Probably.
turpitude. And nobody
As I
caught
say-
that change before. Anyway, can
Yeah,
we
and
move on? I think we've
yeah.
identified that as a problematic issue.
Okay, but just to say, a typo here is legally binding. So even though it should have said of, it says or. So
Yeah, we'd have to change that, but
Yeah.
obviously we're thinking about removing the whole thing, or seeing if we can remove the whole thing. You know, because or perhaps anyway, let's do some research and see what we can do on that. And then the anything else on the membership section? Okay. Then the discussion of the answers, looking at trying to get phase 1 of the implement ordinance done by mid, so that we can begin the process of selecting and appointing the new commissioners with the goal of having them seated before the end of the year. And having said that, and recognizing that there's not a guarantee that it's going to happen for the end of the year, but I think there'll be a lot of community pressure for it to happen as soon as possible. So the question becomes, does it make sense to keep the current officers in place until we transition to the permanent, or until we become the permanent commission, or should we go through the process of having an election in June?
I want to make clear, I'm not unhappy with the current officers. If they want to stay for a couple of years, just because this gets drug out forever, it's okay with me. So,
Anyway, so you've heard the 2 points of view. Does people want to weigh in on the issue?
Oh, I have no comment.
Is there
can chime
something
in.
in place if, okay, I see it, never mind.
was
Doug,
gonna say,
what if, oh, I'm sorry, Brandon, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'll chime in real quick, but I'm not gonna vote on this just because I am an officer. But I kind of think it doesn't really make sense to run elections and then have people replaced in 3 months or whatever. But, you know, I would go along with whatever the board or interim commission feels is appropriate.
So I would feel comfortable with leaving this in if we add a sentence that gives the interim commissioners the ability to call an election if they deem one to be advisable.
Yes.
So if we could just add a sentence after so right here, add a sentence that says, if a majority of the board votes to call an election before new commissioners are appointed, comma, I don't know how to, I'm not a lawyer.
Okay,
And
we
yeah,
can work on
something
the
like
right
that.
I think that's a good idea. Is there any objection to that?
No.
Okay,
I
then
think that makes sense, yeah.
I think that solves the issue. And then let me scroll on down.
Okay, can you stop under section B, the second paragraph where executive is misspelled? Executive committee.
Yeah, that probably looks like my typo. So I plead guilty.
And under section 3A on chair number 1, you probably want to take out that hyphen.
Yeah,
Doesn't have it anywhere.
I'm not sure why it's even there. I think I tried taking it out and it didn't come out, but we'll fix that.
Probably the red line because you deleted something.
Okay, you're probably right, but it's strange that it's not in red, but or is it in red? No, it's not in red.
I think it is in red.
Oh, it is in red, so you're right. Okay. I think the problem is that the formatting is. I think I was trying to fix the formatting because you see that it doesn't line up. And okay.
Doug, this should be removed since there is no nominating committee anymore.
Oh, Oh,
Thank you.
yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for catching that. Okay, continue on down and feel free if you see something that you want to stop, just okay, then continue on down. Okay, then continue to the cabinet. Any thoughts, any concern about how we worded that there? Okay, if not, let's move on down. The meetings were basically the same. I know-
Wait. The cabinet shall, number one, in consultation with the executive director, remove that shall from there.
Consultation. The cabinet, oh, you're right.
Right. Yeah, it's duplicate.
Thank you. And then I know that Kate has a concern about the closed meeting section. So you want to talk about that?
I do. I have a major concern about the closed meeting section. I don't think that SDPD should be involved in the closed meetings unless they are specifically brought in to answer questions. I don't think they should be there for any other reason. And that's really been a major issue.
Well, I think that'll be it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Pardon?
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead.
No, I just want to say it's a major issue. And we've talked about this before at open CRB meetings, and I know you can say that they can be sent out, and that's been done. I know that that's been done in some of your closed sessions, but I just don't think it should be up to the commission to say, you guys can't be here while we're having our confidential discussions. And it should be the reverse, that if we need you to answer a question about a policy or procedure, or we don't understand some of the language, or you can bring somebody in, but I don't think they should be there for any other reason. And that's a really big issue.
I second that.
Okay, well, and we've had long discussions on the board regarding this.
For years.
And so my thought is, and I realize this is going to be an issue for the structure of the meetings of the new commission. So my thought is that that we ought to keep it the way that it is in the interim. Anyway, and the purpose serves not only for getting information, but they hear a lot of information from us that gives them feedback that is useful.
Doug, I strongly agree with Kate and Nancy. I think that this language should be changed because the new commission is not the CRB. And I think from the get-go, this should say the commission, rather than saying that the commission has to act to go into executive session, I think this language should say the commission, pursuant to Robert's Rules of Order, if that need be there, I don't know if it does for this, the commission may invite SDPD personnel to attend any meeting for the purpose of answering questions from commissioners, period. And then if the interim commissioners, for whatever reason, say we're going to invite them to every meeting because we have questions throughout the meeting, then the interim commission can vote to do that. And that's how we'll decide whether or not that happens. But I agree with Kate, the independence of the new commission is very different from the CRB, and I think that should be in these bylaws from the get-go.
So Doug, I have one more comment. The reason
let me ask Patrick a question, then get to you, Nancy.
Sorry.
And so you're suggesting that we come up with the language that you just came up with, and I can task you with coming up with that language.
No, I'll give it to you right now. Cut all of this and say the commission may vote to cut all of this and replace with the word invite SDPD personnel to attend any session instead of this for the purpose of answering questions from commissioners, and then delete this.
And let me see, you're deleting it. So,
or leave that, I don't care, but it's.
I think it's important to leave that so that
Okay.
it's clear that they don't participate in the deliberations. I think
Okay.
it might be helpful to add not only answering questions, but to receive feedback.
Sure, fine, great. I think the point here is that what these interim bylaws should do is not require the CPP to take special affirmative action, voting to go to executive session in order for PD not to be in the room. That shouldn't be in the bylaws. We shouldn't have to take any action to be independent. But instead, the bylaws could empower the commission to invite PD to attend for the purposes of giving feedback or answering questions at any stage of any meeting. And that would be a way that the bylaws empower the new CPP rather than requiring the new CPP to take special action to be independent.
How would that work, Patrick?
You mean how would I word it?
How would the invitation work? Would they be on standby? How would that work? Because, you know, when I schedule the meetings, when I put together these meetings, I send out the invitations to all of the members plus SDPD. So I'm interested in hearing from you. How would that work?
I would say, to be honest with you, in practice, I would say the interim commission should vote to invite the new PD to the first interim meeting. And so that they're there, and then we can have a discussion about this. And maybe the interim commission will say, we're going to take a vote to invite PD to every meeting we have. Maybe there's a majority of members who feel that way, to every meeting we have until the new commission is in place. If that's how the board votes, that's how the board votes. But the point is that the bylaws empower the commission to invite rather than requiring special action to be just the commission talking to itself.
Okay.
So,
let me hear from Nancy, and then a discussion of whether we should go with Patrick's approach.
Okay, so I have for years supported the position that they don't belong in the room, but that they should be on call, sitting outside the room, perhaps, Kate, somebody there to represent them if we get into trouble and need them desperately or something. On the other hand, right now, to change the wording and change the way that we have it set up when we're used to doing that and PD is used to us doing that, I don't want to incur some pushback from the police department with respect to the commission that might interfere with our continuing our regular process, if that makes any sense.
Okay, it does. I kind of like.
I don't like it, but we're used to it. They're used to it, and it seems.
Well, let me finish my statement. I kind of like Patrick's approach of leaving that as a decision to be made by the commission. And so after we adopt the bylaws, the commission can decide whether they want to invite the PD to a big meeting or all closed meetings during the interim period. I also believe, and I've mentioned several people, but I think once we begin meeting in person again, that if we do invite them to the meetings, that they ought to be sitting in the audience and not at the table. But I want to get some other people's opinion.
I'm sorry, you're talking about the open sessions, right? That they would need to be sitting in the audience.
I'd say both. Both.
Well, but you're still saying that they're going to be at closed sessions, but.
We're saying if invited, so we're going to leave it to the new commission to decide whether they want to invite them or not.
I was just going to jump in and say I actually agree with Patrick's recommendation. I think bringing it to the, board / commission and have them vote to decide what they want to do, I think makes sense. And then we can just figure out by majority if they want to have them or if they don't want to have them, then we can move forward with that. I think it's a great suggestion.
I agree, but let's see if anybody else, other people have been silent. So does anybody else want to speak up?
I have a question about Patrick's proposal. So if the commission would vote on this, but this would be something would be done in open meeting with public comment.
Yes.
Okay. And I think if you're going to do that, then this sentence about attendance is limited to, I don't know how you want to reword that, because that sounds like they're going to be there and then you're going to say maybe yes, maybe no. So probably a whole working of those sentences.
What I would say is, are you talking about the sentence in blue down here?
No, up above.
No, the one up above
Yeah,
that says
okay.
attendance is limited to commission members, executive
Yeah,
director, and the chief of police, etc.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. We'd have to change that as well. And so maybe wording that whole section so that it says that a commission can invite the chief of police, etc., and then leave it to the commission.
I would just say, it's tricky because we don't lay out the procedures by voting. But
We don't.
well, we don't say anything. I guess if we say the board may vote to, the point is, what's the threshold for them being invited? Does the board need to make them, not just in general, but to answer a question? Presumably everybody, if there was a question, everybody would want it answered. Yeah, I guess never mind. I don't think we need to get into those details. I'll stop talking, stick to what I said earlier.
Okay.
I would, and we could probably debate that, but I think it's to Patrick's point, if someone has a question, I don't think we need to have a vote of the full board every time someone wants to ask a question of the department. I almost think it should be to the chair or the executive director to essentially approve asking the department that question. Because otherwise it's going to make meetings go really long if every time someone has a question, we have to have the whole board vote on whether or not we want to ask them a question.
And keeping in mind that the new commission may have a totally different way of conducting their closed meetings. So should we, the way that we've been doing it is the way the new commission is going to do it. But I think a consensus to reword that so that the commission, interim commission, will have the ability to invite the reference to people in the police department, and a meeting, the new interim commission can make of whether they want to make that invitation to specific meetings or all meetings moving forward, so that it becomes.
Doug, I do have to go. I've pushed off my meeting as far as I can. I do want to just before, so someone else is going to need to share screen with this document. I do want to, though, I do want to just for Brandon and Doug and Charmaine, I think Kate's point is really important. And so when we ask the board, when you ask the board to vote on this at our closed meeting on Tuesday, I think
That's not happening. That's not happening on Tuesday.
We're
Not
not
be an open meeting.
It has to be
Okay,
an
good.
open meeting.
That I was going to say this vote shouldn't happen until there's an open meeting. Okay.
No, and actually, Patrick, it won't happen until the commission is established and we
Gotcha.
adopt the bylaws, and then then we would have to vote on whether to make the invitation. And before you go, Patrick, was there any other major issue that you wanted to bring?
Let me just see. There's a word that was misspelled somewhere.
Just email it to us.
But I don't even know where it is anymore. I think it was the word represent that was represent or something. But I'm sorry, I lost track of where it was. So somebody should just, as always, do a spell check.
Okay, but no major issue that you want us to concern. Okay.
I've spoken about the ones I did have.
And then real quickly, since do you want to say anything before you leave regarding the forum on Monday?
Sure. So the forum is Monday at 5. You should all have received the link from Charmaine. it'll be it should be a different experience than what we've done in the past. We're going to be organizing people across their community groups to actually focus in a kind of task force way on specific questions. And then for the fourth roundtable, we'll ask them to present those to the community at large. But the whole point is to actually do the work of cross-community work with all the folks who've been showing up and get them to work and collaborate across groups as a model, honestly, for how the city council might think about community participation. You're all welcome. It's hosted by San Diegans for Justice with me and Poppy co-moderating. I guess that's it. Charmaine, we do have that date reserved for our hosting, right? The 30th?
Yes.
Great, okay. That's it.
And quickly, Patrick, so if members attend, would they be put randomly into the breakups?
We're going to ask for volunteers, but we would certainly include anybody who wanted to participate in that work. Nobody's going to be
Okay.
forced to, but yeah, if members showed up and they want to do it, great.
Okay.
So
Thank you,
are we
Patrick.
closing for the day? Because I had a question about if the next meeting is going to be at 10 o'clock. Friday, I have a conflict.
We have not, but
I
we
just
can talk
have to
about that now
leave.
Well,
Oh,
Patrick.
next week?
Next
do you
week,
have-
I was hoping we could move it to noon, but it's up to you guys.
Do you have a problem with noon?
It's fine with me.
Okay.
Oh, thank
does
you,
anybody else-
everybody.
Let me just look my calendar. I don't think there's any reason why I have. You can go ahead and go if you need to.
Okay.
And just
Bye,
double check.
everybody. Take care.
Thanks,
Hi,
Patrick.
Patrick.
Yeah, that's with me. So if the objection, then we will meet the next week at noon. And let's
So-
go back.
So next week is just going to be the ad hoc committee, right? Because I have to make
Just
sure
the
that
ad
that
hoc-
date-
Let's do the ad hoc committee. I think that's fine. But we're going to be doing the bylaws are technically rules, but I don't know, how do people feel? Really, the only overlap is Marty.
Oh, well, it's up to you guys, but I actually have to close out also. So goodbye,
Okay, but let's before
everybody.
you. Okay.
What?
Before you go, were there any other major issues that you wanted us to talk
No,
about?
I
in
just
the
had a
bylaws?
couple kind of minor things about, I just had some questions about the quorum stuff, but it's not major.
Okay, feel free to call me directly if you have any questions that
Will
I can
do.
answer.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Kate.
okay, bye.
And then Charmaine, are you putting it? Are you already back up?
Yes, it's on here. I'm trying to get to where we left off. Okay.
So we were getting toward the end.
So I had a question regarding this, the special meeting section. So, and I know that, like, as far as CRB goes, when there was a special meeting that I had to call, I don't think I've
I don't think it's in the purview of. Are you frozen or I'm
I
frozen?
think she's frozen.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe she'll get back on. See, I don't think it's in the purview of the executive director to call a meeting, because a commission meeting should only be called by commission.
Right. I would agree.
Hopefully she's coming back on. But we're sharing her screen.
And we're in trouble.
And there, she still shows as a participant. But maybe she's frozen. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, and
Now she's gone. So now
now she's gone. Now apparently I'm the host. Doug, I would agree with you though, is I think I don't think the executive director would be the one to call a special meeting. I think it would have to be either the chair or the cabinet.
Yeah, or a majority of the commission as it indicates in the bylaws.
True. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I can, let me see, I can share my screen.
I don't think the executive director alone has ever called a special meeting. I think it's always been through consultation with our cabinet or the rest of the board, where we talk about having a retreat or something. We talk about it ahead of time.
Okay, hopefully Charmaine will be joining us again shortly. But anyway, I'm sharing this now. So when she comes back, she can explain her concern there. And she may have,
Recruitment and training, what do we have?
I just got a text probably from her, got kicked off, okay. I'll tell her to come back.
And then just as a heads up, I'm gonna have to probably hop off fairly soon. I'll get a text when the meeting's starting that I have to go to. So I'll stay on until I have to go to that.
Okay. Hopefully we're almost done. Were there any concerns regarding the committee stuff? Which took out the nominee. And so any thoughts on the executive director? Okay. Okay. She's trying to get back on. She wants us to consider adding the executive director, calling a special meeting after consulting with the cabinet, and I'm not willing to agree to that. So we'll see what she says when she comes back on.
Well, I think at that point, it wouldn't be the executive director. If it's in consultation with the cabinet's calling the meeting. So
Right.
I don't know if that's necessary.
Yeah. So I don't think the executive director should have the authority to call a meeting.
Well, you wouldn't be giving them, the executive director, that authority as long as you said in consultation with.
Yes, you would. I disagree. If you said, I mean, the meeting should be called as a matter of, should be called by the commission, not by the staff. I mean, the executive director could ask, can contact the cabinet. Okay.
There we go. A couple of her.
Okay. Can people hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, because I was hearing Brandon talking and I wasn't, maybe he was muted. Oh, I'm looking at the oh no, I've done something. How do I get back to my full screen? Okay, so Charmaine, you're muted.
And there are two of you.
Okay. And is Brandon still on?
I don't see him.
Yeah, and so maybe he got kicked off too.
Hey Doug, look, this is Marty. I've got to take off now. I got something I have to take care of.
So
Whatever
maybe,
the next meeting is fine.
okay, so why don't, it looks like we're losing Charmaine and we're losing, we lost Brandon. And so why don't we just go ahead and adjourn and complete the, okay, is Charmaine back?
Doesn't look like it.
She's in my participants list and she's here twice, but it doesn't show her on, so. Why don't we go ahead and adjourn and we can finish this next week and hopefully we won't have the same technical issues that we're having now.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks everybody.
All right.
Doug.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And I guess if we all leave.